The glaze, the filling, or just the fluffiness itself is what makes so many people fall in love with those holy desserts. Hi, and welcome to Cooking While Quarantine. A couple of weeks ago, I've come across a couple of Krispy Kreme donut recipe, and I was like, let's try making them. I love donuts. I might not love it as much as Homer Simpson love it, but I would say my love of donuts is really up there. So let's get started, shall we? You're gonna need some all-purpose flour, a little bit of butter, you're gonna melt that later, some milk, a little bit of salt, nutmeg, also some sugar. We're gonna use a lot of sugar today, some active yeast, egg, vanilla extract, powdered sugar, and we are all set. We are ready to start making our donuts. We're gonna mix the active yeast with 120 grams of warm milk, because if it's not warm, your yeast is not gonna be active or it's not gonna activate. So once you mix all that, let them sit for about 10 minutes so your yeast will have time to activate. Now let's start mixing our dough. So in goes 280 grams of all-purpose flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 40 grams of sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and you want to mix it and mix it real good. By this time your yeast should be activated. You're gonna mix 1 egg and 40 grams of melted butter in there, and you're gonna pour your yeast mixture into your dry mixture and mix them all together. Mix them well. Once it's all mixed together, we're gonna start kneading our dough. Now we're gonna do that for about 10 to 15 minutes until your dough is actually nice and soft. So we're gonna start by putting some oil on your working surface and then just knead it out. When I was making this, my dough are a little tacky and thick and it's not as soft as it should be. Don't worry if your dough are a little dry and thick, your donut will turn out delicious either way. So after you knead it out for about 10 to 15 minutes, cover it with a towel and then put it in a warm place for about 30 minutes to let it rise. So after it's risen or it's double the size, we're gonna bring it back, start to flat them out into maybe like 1 inch thick, and then we're gonna use if you have a donut cutter, use that, but I don't have a donut cutter, so I'm gonna use my mason jar lid, and then for the little holes inside of a donut, I'm using a little piping tip from a piping bag to cut them. It wasn't perfect, but it turned out to be okay. So once you cut all of that, then you're gonna let it rise once again for 30 to 45 minutes. And while we're waiting for that, let's talk about new fact. From San Francisco to Bangkok, Krispy Kreme has captured the dessert fans' heart by the crispy, fluffy sweet treats. Started inside a grocery store in North Carolina, Vernon Rudolph was making a soon-to-be world's famous donuts. But the scent of the delicious donuts recipe he brought from a New Orleans French chef wafted through the building. The people of the town wanted to just buy the donuts straight from him, so he cut a hole through the building's wall and started selling them through the sidewalk window. And that is the beginning of his Krispy Kreme empire. From then, Krispy Kreme has become the most demanded donut chain store that every time a new location is open, there's a huge line out the door. The chain also loves the holidays, from Easter to baseball season, or even a fun holiday like Talk Like a Pirate Day. Krispy Kreme will make sure to put up limited flavors or shapes up on the shelf to keep the customer happy. And they also hold the world's record of the biggest donuts box that filled with a total of 2,700 Krispy Kreme donuts in 2009. And that will conclude our food fact for today. Now, let's get back to cooking. So it's been about 45 minutes now, and my donut has risen. I mean, look at that. And they are double the size, and that means they're gonna be really delicious and fluffy. So that's a good sign. So we're gonna heat up a lot of oil in a deep pot or a pan, because you wanted a deep pot because you don't want your donut to touch the bottom of the pan or the pot while you're frying. So you want to fry them in a temperature around 320 or 300 Fahrenheit. If you don't have a thermometer to check it, you basically use like a medium heat, and that should be okay too. But make sure you kind of keep an eye on them, because these guys cooked pretty fast. So once you're done with them, let it rest on a wire rack, and we're gonna make our delicious Krispy Kreme glaze. So we're gonna use 2 cups of powdered sugar, 1/3 a cup of melted butter, 4 tablespoons of warm milk, and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Mix them all together. Start glazing your donuts by dump one of your donuts in there and then flip it back and forth, and then make sure the glaze cover every corner of your donuts. If you see the glaze start to kind of be clumpy, throw it in the microwave, heat it up for 10 to 15 minutes to let the butter melt again. If you don't do that, your glaze will basically gonna be really thick and then it will harden. So once your donuts is all glazed, you want to rest it on a wire rack to let it solidify. And then it is ready, your Krispy Kreme donut that you just made from home. I have a couple of hiccups during the dough making, but at the end of the day, it turned out perfectly, and these donuts resembles my love of Krispy Kreme regular glazed donuts, and I think you will like it too if you actually try making them at home. And look at these, the insides are super fluffy, and the glaze, the glaze are sweet and milky, and it's basically tastes exactly like the Krispy Kreme donuts. So it is what you want within a perfect piece of Krispy Kreme donuts. So thank you for watching Cooking While Quarantine. I'll see you in the next episode. And Jennifer, I know you like these videos, so please hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.